The tranquil Swiss village facing a time bomb. Mitholz, population just 170, is at first sight an idyllic place in Switzerland's beautiful Kander Valley. But its tragic history has come back to haunt it. The village's geranium-covered houses are traditional wooden farming chalets, many still with living space for people upstairs, and stalls for farm animals below. It's a style seen all over the Alps, with some houses 200 or 300 years old. But not in Mitholz. Here all the houses bear the same date, 1948. Some have inscriptions, "Out of the horror, I am rebuilt," or "What was destroyed in a moment cannot come back. Now we look forward with hope." What happened? Halfway along Mitholz's single street, Ida Steiner remembers. "I was 12, she says. My mother and my grandmother were asleep. There was a huge explosion, we saw fire everywhere, and Mum said, 'We've got to get out.' We ran out into the night, there was deep snow. My mother carried my grandma on her back." The explosion came from a vast World War II Swiss Army munitions depot buried in the mountain above Mitholz. It was supposed to be safe, but, in December 1947, 3,000 tons of ammunition blew up in what was, at the time, the world's biggest non-nuclear explosion. The blast was heard 160 kilometers, 100 miles, away in Zurich. The houses in Mitholz were destroyed, the snow turned black. 9 people were killed, many more were injured. Pictures from the following day show the local schoolhouse, walls and windows smashed, live artillery shells lying on the desks. Today, the mountain above Mitholz bears a huge pale scar, where the entire mountainside was blown away with the force of the blast. The village still nestles beneath. The destroyed houses were lovingly rebuilt in traditional Alpine style within a year. Everything returned, apparently, to normal. Most of the families who live in Mitholz today have lived here for generations. But Sven Meyer, who spent the first part of his life in hectic Zurich, moved here for the peace and tranquility. "Life is different here, more relaxed, no stress," he explains. "I sit in my garden and I can see the beautiful mountains, the little river, nature, no buildings, no streets." Unfortunately, that Alpine idyll is about to change. 3,000 tons of ammunition may have blown up in 1947, but 3,500 tons were left. "They tell us they have to remove it from the mountain, so we all have to leave," says Sven. The shock news came after a new geological survey carried out by Switzerland's defense ministry revealed the remaining ammunition did, after all, pose a risk. Ministry officials traveled to Mitholz to tell the villagers the bad news. Thousands of aging bombs and shells would be removed piece by piece. For their safety, the villagers would have to move out. For at least 10 years. Mitholz will become a ghost town. So what happens now? No one seems quite sure. The houses are being valued for compulsory purchase, the local authorities are looking for safe land to build new accommodation. But no one has been given a value for their house yet, or a new place to go. Claudia Schmidt, another resident, tries to put a brave face on things, but losing the house she describes as her dream is clearly hard. "We invested a lot," she says. "We invested a lot." But while Claudia is philosophical about the actions of the army, they didn't have the technology to take it away safely before, others are not quite so generous. "People were angry when they found out," says Sven. "People were angry when they found out. They told us it was safe," remembers Idaho. "They told us it was safe." It's not the first time Switzerland has had to remove dangerous explosives from public spaces. During World War II, many key tunnels, alpine passes and bridges were mined, in a bid to thwart invasion. The practice continued during the Cold War, and for decades the explosives stayed where they were, apparently forgotten. In 2001, 11 people died in the Gotthard Tunnel when a fire broke out following a collision between 2 lorries. It emerged that large quantities of explosives stored there years ago were still in a depot close to the tunnel mouth. It's rumored that local fire officers, having heard about the stockpile, were reluctant to enter the tunnel to fight the blaze. After they successfully put the fire out, the army arrived, bomb disposal equipment to hand. Today the Defense Ministry is doing its best to reassure Mitholz residents that they will have as much say in what happens as possible. But that's not much compensation for losing your home.